Maybe you've got dreams of building a big national contracting company, or maybe you're just starting out and trying to get to that first couple million and have a real solid impact on your local community. Either way, you're going to get a ton of value out of my interview with Brian Hess today. Brian is on fire and he's just getting started. He's got 3 podcasts that he runs. He does a daily Facebook Live called The Morning Perspective. He's got a national contracting company that did work in 43 states last year. And he is a man that you need to follow, that you're going to get a lot of insights from. So I am super excited to jump in today with Brian Hess of the Pavement Group. What's up, everyone? I am super pumped to have my buddy Brian Hess from the Pavement Group joining us today. What's up, Brian?
How you doing, man? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I'm so glad we were able to connect. We've got a lot in common, and as we were kind of talking before, pre-roll here, pre-record here. So really excited for this. Let's start out because I know I follow your content and everything. I'm not sure how much of our audience is following you yet. I'm sure more of them will be after this recording. So can you give us a little bit of an intro on what the Pavement Group is all about, how you kind of arrived at this unique business model, and basically what you do?
Yeah, the Pavement Group is kind of a unique business model. So we are a nationwide asphalt and concrete provider. Our ideal customer, the more properties a customer has, the better for us, right? Because we kind of take that 30,000 foot approach of not just going out and performing work, which is, obviously our primary business, but we also help them kind of organize, budget, and maintain their assets once they're put down. So we, build a parking lot, and then we put them on a program that helps them kind of manage those pavement assets with the lowest amount of spend in the maintenance department over a period of years, and able to save people, with large portfolios, millions of dollars over periods of years by being able to educate the customer and manage those assets alongside them through the technology that we use. So it's a unique business model. We did work in 43 states last year. We didn't make it to Hawaii or Alaska, but we covered most of the other ones, most of the domestic United States. And it's been a blast, man, just building this company and having the team that we've had. We've innovated quite a bit in our industry, just bringing things to the table that haven't been done before. And it's been fun.
That is awesome. So I don't even know this. I'm curious. So as the Pavement Group, do you have like teams in 43 states, or do you have people, or is it more of a kind of network of different contractors that you have, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we've got a network of contractors, and then we have physical offices in a handful of places. So we've got Pittsburgh, Minneapolis, Boston. We have physical locations, and then we also have employees in a bunch of different states too. But then when we get outside of those states, we're partnering with local contractors to complete that work. So we've got a unique model there too, where we're able to buy materials and kind of put the projects together in a different fashion, where in a lot of markets, we are able to be competitive with a local contractor because of the approach that we take.
That's a very interesting model. How did you arrive at that model? Like, did you start out that way, or is it something that evolved over time?
So we did start out as a national contractor. There's a lot of contractors, prior to us that had a national model. There's some massive contractors out there that have a similar model to us. Where we have kind of created a little bit of differentiation is the technology-driven approach, being there not just to produce the projects and do the work, but to also kind of advise them and give them, you can imagine, man, if you're a property or facility manager and you have hundreds of properties that you're responsible for, the biggest challenge that I heard over my career before I had this company was that, people just didn't know what they had, right? Like, what issues do they have on their parking lots was really one of the biggest challenges these guys faced. So we kind of took a step back and said, man, we're going to create every single process and approach inside of our company around solving these 5 problems that we hear consistently, which is, communication, project management. I don't know what I have out there. Nobody wants to tell me. I can't get a bid turned around fast enough. All those consistent issues that we hear in every contracting space, not just in the paving space. But we said, man, what if we took an approach of designing every single thing inside of our company around solving those 5 problems? And so what we typically see, man, is that, our customers, our target customers, have anywhere between 3 to all 5 of those problems with their existing contractor, right? And so we're able to either become a supplemental contractor where we take some of their work, or in some places, we can completely replace an existing contractor and take over entire portfolios of those types of properties.
Awesome. So we're very heavily entrenched in the roofing industry. That's our focus right now. And it's going to be really valuable for our audience to hear this, because it's very fragmented, as I'm sure the pavement industry is, and there's a few big players putting some pieces together to create a model similar to this, especially around commercial, right? There's, if you own one commercial building, you probably own another 10 or maybe 100, so all over the country. So there's definitely roofing companies that are looking to do that. And we have some clients that do kind of a risk management or an annual maintenance, or basically they're selling their thinking in addition to their labor, which is smart, right? And you're actually becoming a trusted advisor to your client, and not just slapping together some pavement and calling it a day, right?
Yeah, I think you mentioned the word differentiation, and I always say, I always teach the people that I coach is that to have real differentiation, it has to come from something that can't be easily duplicated, right? It has to be based in solving people's problems in a unique fashion, not on a large scale cookie cutter type of situation, but rather something very specific that I'm asking questions of a customer and I'm creating custom tailored solutions for that customer. Like, that's real differentiation. And when you can do that on a large scale, like you're saying, hundreds, maybe it's tens of properties, maybe it's hundreds, maybe it's thousands, but when you can scale that idea to solve big problems, then you become differentiation that can't really be duplicated.
That's hard to provide custom personalized solutions on a large scale. Those things are almost like competing value propositions. So how do you guys accomplish that?
So I think it's easier than you think, man, because what happens when people have large sums of properties, typically it's a handful of people that are managing those, and what they're looking for is a singular approach to that. And what they're typically lacking is that singular approach, right? So when we go into a new customer, what we see is a couple of things. Number one, like ADA parking is a big deal for a lot of customers, right? So we find two things that are pretty consistently inconsistent, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
And that is there's typically safety violations or things that are risk on their parking lots. People could turn an ankle, or something's non-compliant. They got broken curb that people could trip over, something like that. And then the second part is they have ADA violations. Something's not compliant with their ADA parking. And so what we try to do, man, is come at that 30,000 foot view and really give them a singular path forward from the scope of work. If they own thousands of properties, typically, to use a bank as an example, they're built on the same footprint, the same square footages are very similar. They might have a couple different models of buildings that they build, but we create different types of scopes of work or different approaches for that particular customer. So, if I'm a convenience store, for example, I need to have heavy duty pavement in one portion of my parking lot versus another. I have, specific things. There's trucks delivering soda and chips to those convenience stores every single day. So there's unique things. There's a car wash that's going to dump chemicals. That's a unique thing. So we build a scope of work for those particular properties for that customer. It really helps them kind of standardize their entire portfolio across the board.
Yeah, gotcha. So we were talking about Chick-fil-A before we hit record. So you're not modeling Chick-fil-A, but the same concept of standardizing process. It's like you're doing, okay, there's ADA situations. Well, they pretty much all fall into those two inconsistencies. So let's build a standardized process for that. And I'm assuming that's why you guys have been able to grow so quickly, is because you're, like you said, your clients are having those problems and they value the fact that, number one, you have a process for that, and number two, you're able to deliver on that solution and provide a great customer service experience to them.
Yeah, when it's well defined, man, you can actually service it, and that is a really interesting miss in a lot of space in the contracting world, is that a lot of the things that are done are kind of just done very differently on each project and each customer and so we try to create that standard so that there is a standard that we can actually overachieve. If you don't set a standard, then how could you ever over deliver for your customer?
Perfect. So you talk about differentiation. It's clear how you guys are doing that. And I recently listened to your Perspective podcast, I think it was last week, on differentiation, and something that you coach and train on. For the contractor listening out there, maybe it's a large national contracting company, maybe it's a small startup, mom and pop. How do you recommend that contractors differentiate? Got any tips for that?
Yeah, man. I would take, just starting from the beginning, man, you have to have a clear set of values and a clear mission and a clear vision of where you're going, which is usually, the first thing that is either not 100% clear, or maybe it's dated. Maybe they came up with something, but their company has evolved. They've never really revisited that. I think that, you got to first and foremost get everybody on the team believing the same things, and really having that be crystal clear all the way down the line. Once you identify what it is that you stand for and who you are, I think it goes to how do you apply that with the customer to, again, create that custom tailored solution that creates real differentiation. Because the truth is, man, like in the construction world, you see a lot of people selling, well, we have new equipment, we have the most experienced staff, we have, all of those things can be easily duplicated. But what can't be easily duplicated is the experience that the customer gets when you're actually asking them questions, listening to what they're telling you, what their specific problems are, and then creating a solution that makes them feel like those problems are going to go away. That's real differentiation, right? I always use this analogy when I'm explaining this, but like if you've ever worn a custom tailored jacket, right? Like a blazer, right?
Baller.
And then you wear one that came off the rack that's your size, but it's not custom fit. There's a major difference in the way that fits and feels, right? And so it's the same for customers. If they feel like this is a custom tailored solution to them, there's always a framework that's standardized. But when you can dial that in to a specific fit for that customer, man, it's differentiation that's really hard to duplicate. And that's what it's all about. It's like, man, if I am part of that solution as an individual, I can't be duplicated. So the level of service that I am able to provide as a business owner, as a salesperson, as a member of our scheduling team, whatever it is, those touch points create differentiation. The people create differentiation.
Right. And the fact that you have frameworks and systems means that anyone who's trained in your company can provide that same high level of service. So it's not Brian Hess that's the bottleneck. That's the only one that can deliver that, right? You have a team of people that can deliver that consistent product and service. To bring that into like a practical example, my wife and I recently just started talking about adding a level onto our home. We were going to move, but the market is like super hot around here. So we're like, you know what? Our best option might be to add on. And we bought this house in 2016, 4 years ago. We did basically gutted it, did a whole home reno. Like, it's a lot of work. Like, it's a lot of time and energy. It can strain your relationship if you're not careful. Like, there's a ton of moving parts. We GC'd it ourselves, so there's a lot of moving parts. So this time around, we're like, all right, like we're looking for kind of, different contractors and builders that might be able to do this and give us an estimate. I am not looking for, who's got the latest and greatest products, who's got like the fanciest truck. Yeah, of course, we'll talk about products down the road. I assume that any contractor or builder that has any chops has access to anything we want. What I'm looking for, what is really important to me as a homeowner, my wife, is like, is this process going to be a living hell, or are you organized? Like, do you have processes as a builder that you can share with me and show me, like, yeah, this is how we operate, this is how we communicate, we have a client portal that makes it easy for you guys, here's how we make selections, here's our time frame. Like, all that is super important. And so if you're looking to differentiate as a contractor, and, you know, roofing companies that we work with, you know, you're selling the same shingles, you have like the same underlayment, you have the same warranties. It's all about the service. It's all about showing your market, showing people that you actually have a process. Like, this is not your first rodeo. That's going to be how you're differentiating. Would you agree with that, or is that kind of align with what you're talking about?
You just described exactly what I described to everybody inside our company, man. And you know, and I think, you know, the other thing that I often say, and this is actually from Andy Frisella taught this in the coaching program that I'm part of, that him and Ed Milet run. And he says the value is actually in the inefficient things that you do. So like differentiation for us, like we send a ton of handwritten thank you cards. We send people surprises in the mail. We do all kinds of things that help us stand out, man. There's a level of service. There's a level of, again, it's like, do you have the process? Do you have this? And are you actually paying attention to me, right? Like, because someone that's going to meet with you and your wife and take the time to like actually listen and then handwrite you a card after thanking you for the time and reiterating what you said to them, and making another promise handwritten that they're going to deliver on that, it creates real differentiation. It creates deeper relationships that aren't just a single transaction, but multiply into referrals and repeat business and all that kind of stuff, which is what everybody's looking for.
Absolutely. I don't know where it comes from, but there's the saying that if you want to scale, you've got to be willing to do things that don't scale. It's clear that you guys have created something pretty remarkable, and you're just kind of scratching the surface, I'm guessing. Where does your drive to innovate, like your mindset, like what do you feed yourself, your mind, like where does that come from? Why not just create a paving company, make a good living, call it a day? Like, where does your drive come from, Brian?
I think I've always had it, man. From the time that I was a little kid, you know, I was the guy, and it's funny because this just happened with my 5-year-old son the other day, and I remember being a kid and saying something similar. We're driving down the road, and there's a little strip mall shopping center on the right side of the road, and my son says, "Dad, my toy store's over there." I said, "Yeah, your toy store?" He said, "Yeah, Mario and Kingston's toy store." And he created this like toy store model of him owning a business in his mind, right? And just the stuff. And he talked about how he's 5 years old, talked about how he would service the customers, and he would stand at the door and wait and greet everybody, and just crazy, right? And I was always like that, man. From the time that I was a kid, I always was a big dreamer, and you know, I always was looking for ways to be different, you know, ways to get people to pay attention. When you're a kid, you always want attention, right? And I think I just carried that into, you know, my adult life, where I was always really interested in technology. So all of those things. And I think, you know, for the people listening that are, you know, maybe thinking about opening a business or thinking about reinventing theirs, it's, you know, play to your own personal strengths as much as you can. And that will always fuel you as much as you need to be successful, because it's not about just the end result of, you know, being successful or making money. It's about really falling in love with the process, right? Becoming just infatuated with the idea of solving people's problems. And, you know, for me, I'm a big family guy, and, you know, obviously providing for my family is a big deal. You know, it's first and foremost. Security comes from providing. That is most important to me. But secondary to that, it's like, man, how do we stand out? How do we really solve people's problems? And relationships are a major driver for me. And I think that you create the best relationships through being able to really create differentiation and solve people's problems.
Yeah, 100%. And so you guys have built relationships all over the country in 43 plus states. What is and that's something, again, that our audience is looking to do. That's something that I'm always looking to do. How do you approach that relationship building? Do you have, you know, like a target, like a dream 100 that you try to reach out to and connect with? How do you proactively create and deepen those relationships?
Yeah, I think number one, man, I would say that's one of the most important things that a business owner can do as you're trying to acquire customers, is to identify who those customers are that you really want to acquire, and do as much research on those people as you possibly can. Because as you start to identify, go take a step back to the conversation about values and mission, you want to make sure that your values and your mission align with the customer you're targeting. So if you're going to be a low cost provider, you're probably not going to want to provide service to those people that, expect a lot, because even though you might win a lot of work, you're not going to satisfy them, and it's going to give you a bad reputation. On the flip side, if you're a contractor that provides a ton of value to people, then you can't go after low bid type of work that they're only worried about what the bottom dollar price is, and they don't care how big of a mess you make or what the process looks like for them to get there. They just want whatever the contract says to be the lowest number. And when you think about those customers and how you need to target them on a national scale, number one, we live in the greatest time in history to be able to do that, right? Because we're sitting here right now in different states. Joe and I have never met in person, but I feel like I know you. You feel like you know me. This technology that we have at our fingertips, it allows you to build relationships like the one that we have built with your customers as well. You just have to get creative in the approach that you take, right? Because if you are able to take the approach of, man, I'm going to build a relationship. I'll give you an example. I sold a 7-figure contract 3 years ago, I think either 3 or 4 years ago. Literally, man, I'd never met the guy in person, and I sold it through selfie videos. Like, I would go out to his properties. Every time I was on one, I would send a picture of what was going on and what we were doing and how we were helping him. I sent him selfie videos of me holding my son, communicating with him to create, just more than just a business image. I want people to know who I am. It's why I put out so much content, because I want people that are like me, that can relate to me, to be able to go out there and find out who I am. And then that's the people I want to do business with, right? And so when you're talking about how to build relationships, you just have to get creative, man. You have to, provide some level of entertainment, not just selling them, not just trying to make money or make it a business transaction, but really try to create relationships. And you do that by, first and foremost, making sure that you identify with the same values and the same mission. And then secondly, utilizing technology to be able to reach out to people and really make real connections. Like, it's not the same as being in person, but you can feel a connection across video, right? It's a whole different idea than just cold calling someone and trying to get their business, or, just sending them an email or just sending them a text message. It's completely different. So utilizing technology has helped us be able to do that. And man, I've built relationships with customers that I very rarely see, that send me text messages wishing me happy Father's Day yesterday. So it's a pretty amazing thing that we have as an opportunity in today's world to be able to do that. If you're not leveraging it as a business owner, a salesperson, you're definitely missing out.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, this doesn't cost, a big money investment or time investment, or like don't need to be a tech geek to figure it out. Just video alone is huge. My business partner, Tim, and I have a daily call every morning, and video call on Zoom. He's in Arizona. I'm here in New Jersey. And this morning I was actually uploading some videos. So my bandwidth was like pretty slim. So we didn't do video, and it just felt weird. I'm like, it was just a different conversation, right? And that's one of the things you mentioned with the selfie videos with customers and whatnot. I started doing that a lot. Just, whether it's Facebook Messenger or text message, quick video, and it makes that personal connection. And most people are like, oh, that's so cool. I'm like, yeah, like you have that on your phone too, right? I have an iPhone 8. It's not like I have the latest and greatest, and it works great. So I would recommend that to anyone.
It's faster than typing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Our team, we do that all day. We do the voice texting, work that into your kind of system. Like, you're just leaving, you're doing a quote for someone, estimate, inspection, you're leaving, like, hey, hey, Brian, awesome to meet you. We'll have that estimate to you in a couple of days, and I'm really excited to potentially work on your property. Simple as that, 10 seconds. There you go. It makes a huge difference. So Brian, you're managing a whole bunch of things. We didn't even talk about this. We're not going to have time to get into it. You've got a daily live video every morning perspective. You've got now 3 podcasts. You've got a whole bunch of things going on. You've got a family. You've got 4 children, right?
Yeah, 4. Yeah.
Wife, 4 children. You stay fit. You stay healthy. What is your framework for putting that all together and having that what I would call like that have it all lifestyle?
Yeah, I would say, man, the number one thing is that you have to have a routine and rhythm to your life, right? And so, I talk about this all the time. If anybody listens to my podcast regularly or follows me, they'll hear me talk about morning routine and how important it is. And, so for me, it's, wake up early, get up before everybody else, start your morning by just being grateful for what you've got in your life. There's always things that we're striving for, but what you have in your life is a gift, no matter what position you're in at that moment in time, man. You woke up this morning, you're breathing, you get an opportunity to care for people, shake hands, give hugs, wish people the best, just to live, right? And that's how I start every day, man. I put my feet on the floor, I put my head in my hands, and I just thank God for the opportunity to do this again today, because there's a lot of people that don't get that opportunity every day. And then I go through my routine, which, get a shower, do all those types of things, and then I sit down at my desk. I have a planner that I work from every day. It sits right here with me every day. If I didn't have it, I'd be in a world of trouble, but it's got my goals on it. It's got a quote of the day, today's critical tasks. I log today's successes as I create some success throughout the day. I think it's important, even on those days where nothing goes right, you always have things that you can point back to that were progress. And if you don't write those down, sometimes you miss that, right? I've got an area to plan things forward to tomorrow. And then every single morning, I either read a book, I listen to an audio book, and then I watch a video or listen to a podcast that's motivational. And all of that happens before 7:30 when I start Morning Perspective. 7:15 to 7:30, I prepare for that. 7:30 to say 7:50, 8 o'clock. I'm doing that podcast, and then it's time to go to work, and by that point, I've got the framework of my day built out. I've got a whole calendar and a to-do list on the other side of my planner, and I just keep working it. And then at the end of the day, I framework the next day, right? So it's important to have that rhythm and to keep things moving in a positive direction, because if you don't have a framework to work from, man, you'll never create rhythm in your life. And that rhythm, people say momentum. Momentum comes from rhythm, right? And when you have enough rhythm, you start to create momentum. And those things, once you get momentum, man, the results start to multiply. So there's a reason why sports teams, when they have momentum, man, they feel unstoppable, right? And you think, man, this game's going to get out of control. And then eventually the momentum shifts because the other team created some rhythm and created some momentum for themselves. It's the same exact thing in your own life. And the more rhythm and momentum you get in your life, the more you can do. And so it's been a period of a couple years, me trying to pack more and more and more things into what I do. And to be honest, man, it doesn't feel very hectic most of the time. There are definitely times that it does, just trying to juggle so much. But for the most part, it has a very nice rhythm to it. And, that is what I would tell everybody to do, is figure out what that is that works for you. If anybody is interested in what that planner looks like, they can DM me or shoot me a message on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and I can send them the pages to the planner that I've created that can help them put some framework or structure to what they do every day and create that rhythm in their life that I've been able to create in mine. Hope that answers your question.
It absolutely does, and more. I was actually going to ask you, is that a planner that you bought or you've created it yourself? Or
Yeah, created it myself, and I've changed it. I'm pretty much happy with it now, but I changed it over a period of a year a few times just to kind of add things in. I didn't have the critical tasks in there. The other thing I added to it was just a win-loss at the end of the day. Did I win today or did I lose today? That kind of stuff. But it's been a work in progress for a number of years, and now I finally got it to the point where it really works.
Love it. Love it. I am a huge fan of the morning routine, evening routine, structure, intentionally planning my weeks and days. I'd be a mess without my morning routine. And those days when maybe it's traveling or maybe, a rare occasion when I'm up super late and I just kind of skip over the morning routine, that day is just kind of chaotic and stressful and full of anxiety. So I recommend it all the time. Be intentional about what you do and be intentional about what you're going to say no to and draw those boundaries very clear. Thanks so much for sharing that, Brian. Awesome stuff. I wish we could get into more. I know we have a hard stop here in a few minutes. If you don't mind, just going to get into a quick lightning round of like 5 quick questions, quick Q&A. What's the current book you're reading?
Got a few, man. I'm always, I revisit this one consistently, but there's a book called Beyond Positive Thinking by Dr. Robert Anthony. That's just a killer book, man. If you text me your address after this, man, I'll shoot you one. I buy them by the dozen so I can send them to people. It's my favorite book of all time. So I'm always, or frequently at least, revisiting that one and rereading it. And the other one, I've got a couple that I read every single day. So I have a scripture book that I read every single morning, and then I have the Maxwell Daily Reader. So John Maxwell, it's just one page each every single morning, kind of gives you just a quick little snippet thought. And then I also have Speeches That Change the World is one that I'm reading right now. So it's just different world leaders and different speeches that people have given that have made a huge impact on society, the world, all those things. So it's a great book.
Well, I've got 3 more books on my to-do list, or my to-read list right now, so that's cool. I'm currently reading High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard. Highly recommend it. Love it. You built a lot of relationships. Is there someone that you're looking to collaborate with that you haven't been able to connect with yet?
Man, there's a lot of, I think, you always have those people that you get advice from, those people that you follow that, are kind of on your list of people that, man, you'd love to find a way to be able to do something with someday. I don't know how, because they're not really in my industry, but you never know, man. You end up finding collaborations in places that you didn't expect them. And so that's a big thing for me. So I'll just tell you the people that I follow that I would love to find a way in any way, shape, or form to collaborate with. But Ed Milet, Andy Frisella, Gary Vaynerchuk are some of my favorites. Grant Cardone was a huge influence on me when I first started on kind of the personal development journey. But man, if there was a way for me to collaborate with some of those titans, man, I'd be happy to be able to do it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I bet. Likewise, those are some of my favorites as well. I'm not a huge Cardone fan, but the other 3, absolutely. So if I figure out how to make a connection, I'll loop you in there. So I have a feeling, Brian, that you're just scratching the surface with everything that you're doing. Can you give us a little preview of something that you're excited about that you can share publicly that's coming up next for the Pavement Group or for Hess Enterprises, if you will?
Yeah, so I think it's just always looking for ways to grow and continue to find the next gear, right? It's like, the innovation on the technology side of things with regard to what we refer to as pavement asset management is a really exciting thing. It's like there really is no limit to how we can help people simplify that whole headache that they currently have, and also reduce the cost that people spend. Imagine the impact on people's budgets, but also on just their overall experience of not having to replace parking lots as often, always having things presentable and not safety issues for clients that are visiting their properties or retail stores or hotels or whatever it is. I think that the innovation on the technology side is the biggest. And, that goes for our own technology too. Like, how do we get customers to find our company easier, on the digital side and that space? I think, mastering those things is, I think, a lifelong journey. It's technology will continue to evolve. So I think that, that is what you'll see in the future for the Pavement Group. For me, I'm going to, try to align myself with those forward-thinking, innovative ideas and try to be at the forefront of as much of that stuff as we possibly can.
Awesome. You've worked with hundreds, if not thousands, of companies in the construction industry. One piece of advice for a company that's just getting started?
Yeah, definitely, man. Just as Gary Vee says, micro speed, macro patience, right? And so the number one thing I would say is don't limit your dreams and don't limit your goals, because you will accomplish far more than what you thought was possible if you can chain together enough days that are wins, right? And one of the things that I say to the people I coach all the time is we way overestimate what we can do in a day. We way underestimate what we can do in a month, in a year, in a quarter. And so it's about the disciplined things that you do every single day that produce those results. Dream big, man, and then chain together the daily disciplines that it takes to get there. And don't ever quit. Just don't feel defeated. Everything that's happening to you is normal.
You are one consistent dude, because a couple of those phrases I literally heard in these AirPods this morning when I was running, listening to one of your podcasts. So Love it. Thanks so much for sharing, Brian. I want to be respectful of your time. Thanks again. Some of these insights, all these insights are super valuable for our audience. So remember, like, don't just listen to this stuff and feel good, feel great. Go out and implement, make them happen. Take some time off. Take 30 minutes a day. Take a couple hours, this week to step back from the chaos and really think about what you want and be intentional about going after it. So thanks, Brian. I'll look forward to talking with you again soon, hopefully.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks so much for having me.
Man, that was awesome. I can't wait to get Brian back on the show. For now, you can go check him out at realbrianhess.com. Don't go to fakebrianhess.com. You're not going to get the goods. Go to realbrianhess.com. You'll see everything that he's got going on, his podcast, the Pavement Group, all of his content and whatnot. We'll talk to you soon.